Hi all, this is Dee from Dee Dream Life, and first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for all your kind words and support for me officially launching my first YouTube video yesterday, and also for all your questions and feedback. I really appreciate each and every one of them, especially those that are constructive. And I think one of the comments that I get that I totally agree with was the length of my first video. It was an hour long, and even I was surprised at how I could sit for an hour non-stop and just kept talking quite fluidly actually. So I was actually quite proud of myself that I was able to cover so many topics in one go, and also in such detail. But I think, I myself also realized that an hour-long video is probably not ideal for YouTubers because of the short attention span that a lot of us have. And so I'm going to try my best to be as concise as possible. But let's just see how we go, because to be honest with you, these videos are really an avenue, as I said to you, of what I would like to share with you in more detail, in depth. And so the whole point is really to be able to cover a lot of different items in a very exhaustive way, where we actually go into different things, different elements, as many different elements of a topic, and actually talk about each and every item through. So it's really not for me to gain popularity. If you think that I am creating these YouTube videos to gain popularity as a YouTube superstar, well, I'll be honest with you, like I already have enough attention from the media, and in my career I'm very blessed to be able to have touched so many lives in the last few years that I don't actually see this as another opportunity to get my name out there. Rather, it is really my intention to be able to assist people who are already, a lot of them, my students, who have a lot of questions, and especially during this time of Wuhan virus being quite a concern among Hong Kongers and a lot of different people around the world. It is really the time for me to be able to give back to community and to be able to share things online freely, because a lot of people are obviously very concerned about the spread of the virus, and so they are not allowing themselves to go out to mingle and socialize in classes, and with so much time in their hands sitting at home doing not much, and still being very concerned about their health. I think this is really the right, appropriate timing to for me to start this knowledge sharing sessions within this YouTube platform. So without further ado, I'm really trying to get straight to the point today, because I tend to ramble on. There were two major questions that I had today, which is going to be the topic of my videos today. I'm going to make two separate videos. One is on what to do once you've attained your teacher training certificate. The particular question I had today was to do with yoga teacher training, so I'm going to address that because it is very much yoga is very much a big area, and a lot of people have attained yoga teacher training certificates and not really sure where to start from there. And the next topic is going to be prenatal yoga, and also prenatal exercises, what to do and what to not do. And this is actually a very topical issue as well that I have been facing amongst my students and friends who are quite in the dark whenever they have their pregnancy, and there is not much availability in terms of prenatal classes, and also not a lot of information out there that is I think someone that gave me feedback today said that when she was pregnant, there was not enough guidance online that made them feel that they could trust whoever was the source of the information. And I think that is what I'm going to try to address today in my second video, is hopefully be able to give you some guidance of what you can do and what you can't do, and what are the do's and the don'ts. But not just that, just giving you a bit of comfort in terms of knowing me as a coach, and knowing that I have a certain amount of credibility, hopefully in your minds, that you'll be able to trust what I say without having that fear in your mind. I think fear is quite a big topic right now, because of all this fear to do with the Wuhan virus spreading, and also fear in general is just something that is always a big concern of people, and often becomes a big source of problems and concern in terms of health. Okay, so let's start with the first topic today, this video about teacher training. Now, I'm going to draw on my own example, but I'm also going to give all of you very sharp and short tips of things you can do to help you to launch your career. When someone asks me, what do I do after I've just got my certificate? Now, there are so many things you can do, of course, to try to launch your career immediately. And I am someone who completely advocates going out there and just doing things. But obviously, you don't want to jump into doing things without thinking beforehand, what is it exactly you're trying to do? So one of my first advice and tip is particularly to do with having attained a yoga teacher training certificate. Yoga is a very broad area, and those of you who have got this certification, or even those that are interested and watching this because you are considering taking a yoga teacher training certificate and thinking whether it's going to be a viable option in terms of launching a career, I hope that you can benefit and get some information out of here that would be helping you to decide whether this is the path, and also to set your expectations in terms of what you can get out of an income, and also whether you will be able to make this a career and a source of income as soon as you need it to be. So now, one of the first things, going back to what I think should be a key thing to consider and think about before launching yourself out there and setting up classes and teaching immediately, is asking yourself, what kind of teacher do you want to be? And then the question would be, what do you mean by what kind of teacher you want to be? Well, what I mean by what kind of teacher you want to be is, first, there are so many different specialties within yoga, within health, within fitness as a coach. And even though you've attended a very general yoga teacher training course, or maybe not so general, some of you have attended a particular course that's a bit more targeted and suited to a certain type of yoga, and you may or may not be sure about it, but you have some kind of idea when you come out of your teacher training. Now, I think not just in terms of what you want to specialize in, but also what kind of teacher you want to be, what kind of people you want to teach, because every teacher has their own specialty, but also what they're known for, what sets them apart from other teachers. You don't necessarily have to be a superstar from day one. You don't have to be someone that knows everything. And that's another misconception that I want to address right now immediately. It's definitely a big point, is that a lot of people that have attained certificates have not launched their career for a long time, and then they feel stunted and they kind of feel lost. And I've had quite a number of people come up to me with this situation before, where they said, hey, I've got my Zumba certificate, I've got my yoga certificate for 2 years, I haven't started teaching, and I don't feel like I know enough yet, or I don't feel like I'm ready. And my answer is, even as a teacher, there are never going to be situations where I know everything. So once you realize that as a teacher, you're not expected to know everything. Because a lot of the time, especially for yoga, because it's so knowledge intensive, and also covers so many aspects: body, mind, spirit, theory, philosophy, anatomy, and also being able to do the poses yourself, right? So then the biggest concern that I face when I talk to people who are aspiring to launch a career is, but I can't do all the poses yet. I can't do a really good handstand yet. Or I am not flexible enough yet, I think, in the eyes of a lot of people. So I think I really need to progress in my own practice first before I can even start to think to teach. I would like to challenge that, because I think that I personally have never adhered to that concept that I need to know all and I need to be good at everything before I can start teaching. Because knowing that students come through at all levels. And the reality is, if you're going to be starting to teach, you're going to be attracting a lot of beginners. And you have to be honest with yourself and with your students that, hey, this is my first time teaching. This is my first month. I'm launching my career. I've just got my yoga teacher training certificate. And from there, because you set the expectation very clearly that you are a novice teacher, you're looking to build your experience, you have that enthusiasm within you, you have something to give. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing would be, you have something to give. So this is another point. A lot of teachers or aspiring new teachers do not believe that they have something they can deliver to people unless they are perfect. And perfect is never really going to be happening, right? Because you're never going to be 100% know-it-all. So once you realize that you're never going to be perfect, then you're going to start to work from a level that you are at, accept where you are at, and be frank and honest with your students and your market about where you are, who you are, and what you're trying to deliver. And then you will attract people who understand and match with you at that point. So for example, when you're starting, and let's say you're not very good at handstands yet, and I'll be very honest with you, I suck at handstands. I've never been someone who did handstands, headstands, and any of these funky upside down inversion things. It has never been part of my practice as a yoga student. I started teaching about 2-3 years ago, but I was practicing as a yoga student since I was 15. And so I'm 30 something right now without giving you too much of my age. So because I've never really practiced yoga as a handstander and a funky inversion person, I stay true to myself and acknowledge that this is never really going to be my type of yoga. And the day I got over this and started to acknowledge that this is just not me. It's mainstream, it's popular, but it's not me. And I realized that I personally see yoga as a different tool, and I evaluated what yoga did for me, what made me love yoga and stick to this practice for a good 15-20 years. And then, there you go, I gave away my age. But anyway, the point is, I stuck onto and really reflected on what is yoga for me. And my answer for myself, which is not going to necessarily be your answer, because remember, you and I are different human beings. We are all teachers with different dharmas, right? Dharma is basically like something like your destiny. Every teacher will have something to deliver that is unique to you and what you can offer based on your particular strength and skill set. So this goes into career coaching aspect of my work. So when I coach people, regardless of whether they're going to be yoga teachers, Zumba teachers, or an accountant, the same advice applies. You really need to know, firstly, what your strengths are, what people see you as. Why would people want you as a teacher and not someone else? So don't look at someone else on Instagram with 400,000 followers and be like, I want to be like her, therefore I'm going to do everything like her. Don't do that, because you're not her. And you are not going to be as good to be like her as her. Because, so I want to draw on an example. I remember like Oprah Winfrey, one of my biggest mentors that I look up to. And I remember an interview where she said, when she was launching her when she was launching her career as a talk show host. And she was really looking up to Barbara Walters, who was a pioneer and her senior in the industry. And she really wanted to be like Barbara Walters, because in her mind, Barbara Walters had all the success that she would like to emulate. And then in this interview with Oprah, she said she was trying so hard to talk like Barbara. She watched so many videos of Barbara, and she was trying so hard to dress like her, behave like her, present like her, until one day when she said the word Canada and said Canada, because she was so tense and so trying hard to imitate someone else's style. And the day when she was speaking like that, and then she remembered that incident vividly when she said the word Canada instead of Canada, then it really hit her that she should stop trying to be the best version of Barbara and start being the best version of herself. Be the best Oprah. So that story is really to draw on the example to let you know that you should really find what's within you and dig it out, express it. Don't try too hard to emulate someone else who you think is successful, because that person and you will never be the same. And what that person did in finding his or her path to success was actually to find what really works for him or her based on his or her own personality, strengths, skills, and how people perceive that person as well. So I have a blog, a life coaching, career coaching blog that I expand a lot on this topic. So I'm happy to send and share that link for you guys to read as well. But going ahead with what I was talking about, you need to really find your own style. And your own style is going to be unique. You're not going to be a mini someone else. And so going back to another question, a sub question that this person who asked me this morning, I really want a mentor, she said. I really want to be able to have a mentor that I can work very closely with. The concept of shadowing a teacher, helping the teacher, learning to teach like him or her, and hopefully be able to build your career off the back of this mentor. Now, let me talk about mentorship. Yes, I definitely agree that having mentors is fantastic. I've always had mentors in my career, whether I was in investment banking or in whatever I'm doing right now in the coaching industry. And let me just try to summarize my relationship with my mentors and manage your expectation of what you can expect out of your mentors. Because a lot of people tend to confuse the relationship with a mentor as like a crutch, like someone who, like a parent, someone who has the responsibility to take care and ensure that you have success in your career. So let me just dispel that. Your mentor is not your parent who has to make sure that you are going to have enough work. Your mentor is not going to be someone who has to spoon feed you every day like a baby to make sure that you have everything you need to get your career going. Your mentor is just someone who you can go to for advice, for guidance, and for a bit of coaching whenever you feel a bit lost. Okay? I repeat that, your mentor is someone that you see once in a while when you feel like you need a bit of guidance and advice when you're feeling a bit lost. And if your mentor happens to have extra work and think that you're suited for that work, good for you. That's a bonus. Your mentor has no obligation whatsoever to ensure that your career is going really well. Because don't forget, chances are whoever you pick as a mentor has a good 10 or 20 different mentees. Okay, so now the next thing is also your mentor may be someone that you really look up to because you're like, wow, this person's amazing. He or she has done so much in her career and I really want that kind of success. But again, your mentor may not have the career path that is actually right for you. So whenever I coach and give advice to my mentees, I always tell them, I know you look up to me and I'm so flattered and so honored to take you on as a mentee, to be able to give you a bit of advice here and there. But ultimately, please do not try to replicate everything that I do. Make your own independent decisions based on what you think is right for you. Because just because I have a website doesn't mean you have to have a website, for example. Just because I teach yoga a certain way doesn't mean you have to teach yoga a certain way too. Because that may not be your style and may not actually showcase your skills in the best way that it should. And just because I talk a lot, let's say I do YouTube videos, doesn't mean you have to do it too. And who knows, maybe your skill and your talent is something else completely different. And to be different and to acknowledge that and to be strong and powerful enough to embrace that you're different from others and to stick to it is power. It is, and I want to quote Kanye West on a very, very good quote he said recently. So Kanye West is this R&B hip-hop rapper who's been through quite a lot and has been on the news quite a lot, who's married to Kim Kardashian. And he's gone through a whole journey of transformation. But anyway, the point is, he said this quote, he said, how to be influential, it's not really how hard you try to influence others, but it is really how hard you work to not be easily influenced by others. I love that. I really love that quote, because a lot of us naturally really try so hard to fit in to society's expectations. Like, oh, look at all these yoga teachers with beautiful Instagram photos. I really want to be one of them too. Therefore, I'm going to bend my back until I break it so that I get this photo, so that I can prove to the world and myself that I am just as good. Please do not do that. I mean, if it's really something that comes to you, and if you're really good at backbending and you happen to have a friend who loves taking good photos of you, I'm not saying that's something bad to do, right? But please do it because it's you. Don't do it because you need to do it because everyone else is doing it. Now, that's next point. Now, another tip is think outside the box. Well, there's so many thousands upon thousands of yoga teachers out there, and Zumba and any other program for that matter. And how do you set yourself apart? Well, firstly, you don't have to be that different, okay? So there are two ways to look at this, right? People can swing from one extreme to the other, right? There's one extreme is that people think so hard that I really need to be different, so I really need to go out there and find something completely novel, completely new, so that I'm not going to be just like anyone else. So that's one extreme, where you're not thinking rationally, even though you're actually really good at teaching handstands, and you're like, no, I don't want to teach handstand because everyone else is teaching handstand, because I have to be different, I have to be special. That's one extreme. The other extreme is, I have to do what everyone else is doing because I have to fit in. So forget these two extremes and go back within yourself and ask yourself, what is it that you want to teach? Why did you take this teacher training course? What is it that you can contribute out to the world? Because at the end of the day, the path of a teacher is really a path of contribution and selfless service, isn't it? I hope that you took this course because you really have something within you that you wanted to share and help others. Because if you're really doing it, I mean, I have had some people who told me, I started doing this course because I thought I want to learn more for me, which is great, because a lot of us, including myself, when I took the yoga teacher training course, half of it was for me and my own healing and my own practice, and then the other half is really to teach, right? So then the question is, what is it within you that you would like to share? And if it's really something that has helped you personally, then what is it within your own personal experience that yoga has helped you that you can share with others? So when you think about teaching, it's not really about you teaching, it's more really you sharing your own personal experience and journey. When you put it that way, teaching becomes less daunting. It's not like I'm going into a class and I have to set a certain amount of knowledge out there based on a curriculum that's set by the school or the Ministry of Education, right? Teaching yoga is not as rigid as teaching something in the school system. Teaching English or math for a level 5 or 10 or whatever it is. It's very different, right? Because it's all about self-development and journey, and it's a bit wishy-washy, but still it's very substantial. And so to make it less daunting about you teaching, it's really about sharing. Like, let's say yesterday I learned something, I did a stretch that was really good for my hip bone. I woke up with a hip pain. I did my Andre sauna, and I thought, oh wow, fantastic, feels so much better after. I could immediately share that in a class after, and that would be teaching. It doesn't have to be like, wow, something completely blowing your mind off and your socks off. Like, I could do this crazy handstand while I was back bending, and then I could flip over, and then I could stand and I could jump back the other way. It doesn't have to be that crazy awesome, right? It doesn't have to be so wow. It doesn't have to be that Instagram worthy, does it? It's just you sharing. And if you have been practicing a lot of yoga, trust me, you have at least 1 or 2 things to share out there. And that's all you need to teach. So that's my next piece of tip, is realize that you have things to share just simply based on your own experience as a student for so many years. Right or wrong, God knows. Of course, you want to teach good knowledge. You don't want to spread wrong knowledge. But no knowledge is actually bad knowledge. I mean, it's all information. Some more accurate than others. But still, whatever you share will help, little or big amounts. And one last advice, because I want to keep this within 30 minutes. One last advice I can give for teachers is keep going to classes of other teachers. Keep learning. Never stop learning as a teacher. I keep myself refreshed with new information almost every day, even little Instagram posts. I subscribe to mailing lists, Daily Savannah East. I read blogs. I Google a lot. We are so lucky these days. We have so much at our fingertips. I went for my 300-hour teacher training after my 200. But also, the other point is, allow time for yourself to revise what you've learned. So, in fact, one of the first things I said off the bat this morning to the person who asked me this question is, take time to digest what you've just learned in your 200-hour training. I know you're keen and super enthusiastic to charge out there to teach and serve and be of good use as a teacher, but do take time to let what all that great information you've just learned digest, simmer, reread passages, paragraphs, because every time you reread something, you breathe new meaning into it. I feel like every single time, and my mentors, a few of them, I said the same thing. Every time you read and reread something, even though you thought you knew it, you always get something extra out of it, if you're a nerd like me. And you somehow shift your awareness to a higher level every time you go back and revisit the same thing. Because especially after you teach and then you go back and read it again, wow, now you have new meaning to it because you've encountered someone who's asked a question or has a problem who relates to that thing, and then you come back with better and more perspective, and you have a deeper and better understanding of what you were learning in class before and all the things you were reading on the textbooks. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful. it is helpful. I hope you continue to spread the word of my work, like my Facebook page, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'm happy to answer any questions at all. I do mentor quite a few people, happy to have one-on-one consultations. I do give my time away freely, quite a lot actually, so don't worry, I will not charge you an arm and a leg if you come to me on one-on-one. I just have to apologize in advance that sometimes I'm a bit sharp and snappy in my response, very straight to the point, because I do have quite a lot on my plate, don't have much time. But always happy to help whoever out there that needs guidance, extra work, teaching opportunities, teaching assisting, and also anyone who's considering taking on a yoga teacher training course. Happy to give you advice and guidance on what's the appropriate path and what's the suitable type of teacher training for you. Namaste.